we would do a really cute little watercolour. It's a baby deer, a little fawn. I absolutely love these little animals, and I was thinking about what I wanted to paint today last night. And, oh, where's my camera on that? Hang on. Video. There we go. Yeah, so I was sitting there thinking, what do I want to draw? And I really wanted to draw a little baby deer. So I'm going to do watercolour today. So I'm going to start just with this little cutie. I'm going to draw the shape of the head first. So they're very round little heads, little round faces. So you can almost draw a ball for the start, like that. And then his little nose comes out the front. And you've got a beautiful little nose that goes in a sort of a square-ish, triangle-ish, like that. And then his bottom of his mouth comes down there. Might make that a little bit deeper there. I can erase anything I don't like, I can erase. Now I'm looking, his little nostrils are like that. He's got a little darker bit that comes there like that. I've got to make his nose a little bit wider, I think. Now I can see one eye over here. Then the other eye is sort of equivalent to that. Got beautiful big, literally doe eyes. Gorgeous eyes. So draw those in. Beautiful big eyes. I'll mark where the highlight's going to be on that little eye. They've got quite big ears, like that. Draw a little line around the outside of that ear, like that. I might even make that ear a little bit wider. This one is sort of to the front. Like that. It comes to a point. It's down like that. Okay. Now I'm going to have his little neck comes down the front like that. Now his head and his neck to his chest is the same length. So measure the head, neck to the chest is the same length. Hello, Blue. Just gone 3:30 a.m. Oh my goodness me, and I need to sleep, so I can't stick around. Absolutely, mate. Thank you for popping in. It is lovely to see you, and thank you. And yes, by all means, go to bed and hello, good night. Okay, so now his chest and his legs are the same length as from his neck to his chest to his bottom of his legs. So I'll pop one little leg here. So I use everything to measure against each other to help me get perspective. Come all the way down like that. His feet disappear off, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, it's not a problem. Now, his head, the top of his head to the top of his nose, because he's going off into the distance, is foreshortened, so it's much shorter. So his back comes pretty much the length of the top of his head. So I use, when I'm looking at a reference, I always measure everything against everything else. I'm going to pop his little leg, this little leg back like this. So it looks like he's sort of walking towards us a little bit. Like that. His little knees there. Like that. Then he can have, whoops, his little leg he's walking towards us-ish. So I'll do this little leg. His hocks and knees are about the same height. Hocks are their back knees. It's another name for a knee. So I'll draw that like that. And then I'll have this one coming around. You can't really see it, but I'll draw it coming through here like that. So he's got his back leg. I'll pop some grass. So it looks like he's standing in grass. Like that. He's got a beautiful fairy tummy. Fairy there. I'm going to do this little muffin in watercolour today. That would be fun. Okay, I'm just having a quick look. I'm going to grab my kneadable eraser. I'm going to get rid of some of these excess lines. Got to tidy up this little eye. I'm not happy with that. It's a bit better. Needs to be a bit more that sort of shape. Like that. A little fuzzy wuzzy head. Like that. Now I'm just going to soften. I've done the outlines. I'm happy with how the drawing looks. I'm now just going to soften up the fairiness. Like that. Just to keep him looking soft and cute. Might zoom in a bit more for you so you can see a bit better. There we go. A bit better. Little fairy back. Like that. And see, even just that little bit of fairiness softens him up. And I've just realised I've got to take his tummy back. You can't really see. It's got a little fat tummy like that. It comes down and around. All right. There's a bit of fairiness around this part of his leg. Between his front legs, or her front legs as the case may be. And then she's got lots of little dots, which I'm going to leave the white of the paper. Because she's a little, I forgot the species of fawn, a roe deer, I think. And she's got the light around the eyes, like that. Light in there. I'm going to try and leave that the white of the paper. I'm just marking out anywhere that I see that I think needs to be left lighter. Little knees are darker, which is very cute. Do a few more little flecks of colour. Okay, that'll do. It's going to be a simple painting today. So I'm going to start. I've already spritzed my watercolour. I've got my brushes handy. So I'm just going to give it another quick spritz with my little spray bottle, and I am going to start by getting a bit of cloth like that and grabbing a small brush using my silver black velvet. They're my favourite, my go-to brushes. I'm going to start with his eyes, and I'm going to start with a little bit, just a touch of burnt umber, I think, in the eyes, just a touch. I'm going to leave the highlight as the white of the paper, because you can't get a brighter white than the white of the paper. Same on this eye. Just do the iris, and I'm going to pop anywhere that I can see he's got this brown. I'm going to pop it around the edge of his nose. He's got much darker around his muzzle of his nose, and then it comes down around his lips into his nostrils. He's more of a grey on the actual tip of his nose, so I'll do that in a little bit. I'm going to go transparent sienna. I need my Schminky paints actually. Where's my Schminkies? Where did I put that palette? Uh-oh. I had another palette. My Schminky paints. Where did I put them? Because they're my absolute favourite. Oh, there they are. They're at the bottom. Got them. Excuse me. Oh, got them. because I love my transparent sienna. So, which is a stinky colour. I'm going to quickly open that palette and give them a spritz so they're all nice and ready to go. Actually, I might just close the Senneliers and just stick with the Schminky. I'm a bit of a watercolour collector. I have many, many watercolours. I've collected them for years and years and years and years. And yeah, Sennelier and Schminky are my absolute two favourite. So now I'm going to go transparent sienna because it's absolutely stunning colour and it's pretty well right for a fawn. Pretty well fawny colour. So I'm going to start with a very diluted wash. Very diluted for the very first. And I'm just going to go anywhere that I see that he needs this colour. Comes down the front of his face. I've got to leave those bits lighter. They're more of a taupey colour, which I might use a Daniel Smith colour, I mean. Daniel Brown's an author. My favourite author, actually. And I'm going to come around the edge of the ear. Like that. Having a quick look, I'm going to leave the white of the inner ear fur. I'm just going to tint the inside of the ear with this same fawny colour though, being careful to leave the white furry bits on the inner and outer edge, like that. And a little bit of this paint goes a very long way. So I'm going to keep moving around his eye. This colour pretty much goes all around this little Furby. Just a cute little muffin. I love deer. I've always loved deer. And this is the very first layer. So it's going to dry 1 to 2 tones lighter, maybe. 1 to 2 shades lighter, I mean, not tones. I'm just going to add a ton of water so it stays quite light because he's a very light colour. And the more layers I do, the darker I'll get. So you might be 3 layers-ish. So you always work light to dark. Come down onto his chest. And down his front leg, like that. Down this front leg. All the way to the grass because the grass is a little bit darker. Hello, Violet. I wanted to say hi, but I can't stay long. I have school tomorrow. I live in the US, so it's 9:40 p.m. Absolutely, mate. Thank you so much for popping in. It's lovely to see you. But yes, you must get rest because schoolwork is very important. Absolutely. All right, so I continue on and around. Now, just like I said, this is the very lightest layer. I thought I'd try a bit more. Generally with watercolour, I tend to do more loose work. I'm thinking today I'm going to try and do a bit more detail because I've been inspired looking at other artists and they can get quite strong detail with watercolour. So usually the people that I follow are loose, but I found a few that are really quite detailed, portrait-wise, and it almost looks like acrylic, not watercolour. So I thought I'd give that a go today because I do love both. I love acrylic and watercolour. Absolutely, Violet. You have a lovely night. Sleep well. And have a good day at school tomorrow. Okay, so I'm going to grab a bit more. Now I'm going to go a little bit more paint, a little bit less water. And I'm going to work back up onto the face, onto the head. And anywhere that's the darker, I'm going to clean my brush. And I'm just going to pretty much do this all with the one brush. Now, as you can see by the size of my hand, this is not a big painting. I will tend to work small. I like to work small. I've got friends who work large format, but my brain hurts when it's that big. Because you've got to be so quick, or you've got to keep your painting damp, and you've got to get your timings perfect. It's much less stressful to work smaller with watercolour, I have to say, for me anyway. Now I'm going to go anywhere I see is darker. It's darker around the back of his little ear. It's darker just here. A bit more of this pigment. Now it comes down the front of his nose, like that. A little bit on that side of his face. On his brow. A little bit darker against the hairs in his ear, like that. He's looking cute. Okay. Now, I'm going to grab a little bit more transparent sienna. So exactly just one, this is all one colour. Pretty much all one colour. I'm going to come down on his shoulder. Being careful to leave the white of the paper as the white on the animal. And I'm going to cut carefully around, brush around using the very tip of my brush. And I do recommend, if you can get a good brush, a good watercolour brush, they hold their tips really well. Makes life a lot easier when you're doing things like this. Now I've got to brown up all around his little bottom. And these are Silver Black Velvet. I love these brushes. They're my favourite of any brush that I've ever had from for watercolour. These are my absolute favourite. I've got to get some more, but they're expensive. I had to buy myself some more because I want to get a complete little set. So because every now and then I buy a little one or I buy a large one. I want to get the flat set because I don't have any flats. I've only got rounds. So I want to get flat ones. I like these. I've got these ones with a point on them. But then the flat ones are good for edges and stuff and doing washes. I really don't have anything to do washes with. So now that's done pretty much to there. I'm just going to soften up the edges and drag them down. Because you can re-wet watercolour, I can go back in and just soften up some of those edges. I'm going to turn my air conditioner on. It's a bit hot in here. Where's my air conditioner control? I don't know. Doesn't matter. I won't turn my air conditioner on. Okay. He's darker under his belly here. Darker under the tum here. Just a little bit. Grab a little bit more pigment and drop in there. Definitely got shadow down the inside of that back leg. To the knee, to the hock. And that leg is nearly completely in shadow. Like that. Take that down to the grass. This leg has got shadow down the back. Like that. Shadow to the inside. He's much lighter on his little front. Okay, so now, hey Playboy, how you going, mate? Thank you for popping in. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so now I'm going to pop a bit more of this colour down onto his shoulder because I've just noticed he's got a little bit more of this red colour coming down here. And I'm going to do, and a little bit more pigment coming around his face. Again, being careful to leave the white. I'm going to try and find like a goldy colour. He does have a little bit of gold. I might go a little bit of yellow ochre. It's like an orangey brown. So I'm going to add this over the top and add a little bit of fur texture using the yellow ochre. So very little water, quite a lot of pigment. And I'm going to start over the top. I'm going to add, using the very tip of my brush, little furry lines. Down the front. Like that. That comes pretty much down. Don't want to ferret the whole body, but I want to just get a little bit of definition. Coming down onto his chest. Like that. And also onto his back and around his little dots. I might even use a little bit of burnt umber around the back there, but first, again, you start light, work your way to dark. So gotta be careful. I tend to rest my hand on my work. That's something you've got to watch with watercolour. If you rest your hand on it, you're going to smudge it. I'm going to darken up his kneecap on this side. He's got darker on this side as well. Like that. Darken this one up all the way down. That one runs behind that front one, like that. You can see he's starting to look a little bit three-dimensional now. It's amazing, a few layers of colour and they start to get a little bit of form. Now I'm going to come around the back. Fill that in. Come down his leg. Okay. I'm also going to add a little bit fur texture. I've got to add a little bit of grey too. I'm going to get a little bit of grey. I've actually got this blue colour. It's a sort of a steely blue colour, and it's really pretty. I might use that. Just dilute it right down. And I'm actually going to run that around the edge of his eyes. Put it on his muzzle as well, on his little nose, because his nose is grey. This is a blue, but I use blues for my greys and my darks. And I'm going to have it very diluted. Coming down under his neck where there's shadow, like that. Come down. Follow that down into anywhere I can see that there's shadow. Come onto his belly as well. That and onto his little this back leg. I'm gonna put this grey on as well, this blue. It's a very pretty blue. I'm not sure what it's called. I can't remember what it's called. And drop that in on top of that brown. Make it a bit thicker like that, and drop that in, and that's the shadow colour. Shadows are sort of blues and purples and darker tones. I'm going to come anywhere I see that there's a shadow now. I'm going to, the darkest shadows, I'll pop in this blue-grey. Then as I get, see that the inside of that leg is super dark, like that. The inside of this leg, the back, super dark. Okay, now I'm going to get almost that blue. I'm still going to use that blue. I'm going to go almost pure pigment, very little water, because I want it to be strong. I'm going to add a touch of indigo to it as well, to make it even darker. Okay, now I'm going to go into the eye, and I'm going to darken that iris and pupil area. Being careful to leave the highlight. Like that. Draw the little eyelash on. So this looks blue, looks black, but it's blue. Now he's got his little eyelashes there. Come around the outside. Come around the outside, that outline of that eye there. Come down the front, like that. And I'm going to take that down onto his nostril a little bit as well. Having another look. Okay, so now I'm going to work on his little mouth and his nose, and I'm going to use this same blue. I'm just going to darken up around the front of his little nose. I'm going to add a little bit more water to that bit though. Add a teensy little bit more water. That, just to drag that around. Just want to darken up his little nose. Like that. But not have it completely one dark colour. And then while that's damp, I'm going to add a little bit more paint, less water though. And take that around the edge. Like that. I can darken up inside his nostrils as well, just going almost pure pigment. Almost pure pigment. Like that. Okay, having a quick look. Now I'm going to add some grey around his ears. He has dark around his ears. Around the tips, and I'm just using the very tip of my brush. It's going to define these ears a bit better and cut in, and so you can see the fur, the fluffy bits inside his ears a bit more, like that. Again, grab a bit more of this blue around the outside of his ear, anywhere that's darker. Like that. He's much darker in the tip of his ear here, so I'm going to add this blue as well. Take it around the outside edge. Fluff all that in. It's got a little bit dark there. Having a quick look, it's got a little bit of dark coming around here. Okay. See, that definitely starts to make him look more three-dimensional. I'm going to strengthen up that dark around his eye. I'm going to hit that again with almost pure pigment at the bottom of his eye, like that. I'm going to pop a little bit of this same colour onto his knee, just because he's got very dark little knees, like that. Come down the inside of his back leg. And the inside of that back leg. I can add a little bit more to the inside of that leg because that's even darker again. And then I'm going to add a little bit of dark fur around the bottom. And now I'm going to go into some burnt umbers. So I'm going to grab my burnt umber, which is just a stronger brown. Where's my burnt umber? There it is. Grab my burnt umber, which is just a strong dark brown. And I'm going to take that around his eye. It's quite diluted, just to give him a little bit more three-dimensionality. Like that. You can see a little bit darker around here. Lovely white around his eyes. I'm going to add a little bit more of that burnt umber around his nose as well, just to darken up this bit here. And that sort of comes down to his little lip, under his chin there a little bit, and then back up under here. Okay. Have a little bit of that burnt umber coming around the back of his head as well. Just here. Just having a look at anywhere that I can see that needs little touches of dark. Probably add this burnt umber into his ear as well. Just to give that a bit more variation. I'm going to blend that out, wet my brush, mop it off on my bit of cloth that I've got in my hand, and just soften that up. And I'm going to add this burnt umber, add a bit more water, come onto his little bottom and brown off Get a bit more dark through his bottom. Because I do lots of wildlife, I tend to use lots of browns and darks. So I come around here. I use lots of browns, lots of blues, lots of greys. Because it sort of seems to be the dominant colours in most of the animals that I draw. I'm going to blend that out. Soften that all together. Down and around. Like that. Just gives us a little bit more definition on his little bottom. Come around the back leg here, add a bit of fur. Soften that up. Like that. And work my way down his leg. All right. Now I'm having a look. He's looking pretty cute. That's looking pretty cute. I'm happy with that. I'm going to go a bit more of the stronger, a bit more grey, the blue. I call it grey, but it's blue. Got to treat it like a grey. Got to add the darker shadow because you can see when it dries a lot lighter. You've got to allow for that colour shift in colours when they dry. I'm going to let that all dry for a second, and I'm going to add some grass now. And the grass is actually these little muffins, these little deer, they blend into their surroundings so well. So I'm just going to draw with my brush. I've sort of roughly drawn in grass, but I'm now going to draw in a little bit more. I'm just using the tip of my brush and the barrel of my brush and just running that down like that. Hello, Sienna. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's lots of fun. It is lots of fun. And I've done acrylics for a few days, and I thought, you know what, I really want to do a little watercolor animal. I've been doing lots of birds, so I thought I'd change. And my favorite animal to do is deer. So I thought I'm going to do a deer today. And how's your day been? So now I'm going to just add a couple of different browns or different browny greens. So this is like I don't know, what would you call that? It's like a grass green. I'm just going to add a bit of green to the bottom. I use the brown, but it's like dried grass, so it's brownish, greenish. So add a little bit on the undersides of the blades of grass. I'm not going to worry about a background at all, because yesterday I did a background and that was a bad idea. So today I'm not. I thought I'm just going to focus on the fur, focus on the fun bits. I should probably draw some little yellow flowers as well, shouldn't I? I'll draw some little blobby flowers. I'll just wet my brush. It's going to be orange. But I'm just going to literally just pop little blobs. Should clean my palette. Little blobs. Like little wheat heads. Just to keep it interesting around. Like that. Doesn't have to be exact, it can just be suggestion. Like that. I'm also going to add some of this yellow onto his fur, because why not? I'm going to bring some around his little cheek, because they blend into their surroundings. So you can add a little bit of the colour of the background everywhere. So I'm going to put this orange onto his little body as well. Don't put your hand in it like I just did. I have a habit of resting my hand on my work. Not a good habit, but I do it. So, but it dries fast, so it's okay. So now I'm just having a look at him. I might pop a little bit of this yellow or orange. It's orange, quite orange, on his head. And that goes over that brown quite well anyway. It just adds a little bit of warmth to it. So I've used lots of coolish colours. There we go. I'm going to add that down his front leg maybe, just a little bit of fur, like that. Come down this front leg, a little bit of fur, for a little bit more, like that. And I reckon he's not too far from done, to be honest, because that's just, it's quite a simple painting. I might add a little bit more brown, a little bit more burnt umber. Just on the grass, so closest to the bottom, like that. There we go. I reckon he's done. That's a bit fun. A little bit more. A little bit more. Famous last words. Let's just do a little bit more. I might even make up a dark, almost. I'm going to add a bit of brown to my blue. This is how I make my black. I add I can add ultramarine or burnt umber together, and it makes almost black. And that's what I use. I don't use a true black. I use burnt umber and ultramarine, or burnt umber and indigo, and my go-tos to mix my own black. And then I can add some little dots onto his little nose with the very tip of my brush. Darken up his little nostrils. Got to round that little nostril off a bit because they've got quite round little little nostrils. Okay, having a quick look. Yeah, he's quite cute. Add a bit of that dark that I've put on his nose, just a little bit here and there. I'll add it down the very darkest shadow on the inside of that leg, the very darkest shadow on the inside of that leg. And that keeps everything unified. If you use a little bit of the colours all over, the same colours, it unifies everything. Hello, how are you, Kitsuro? Welcome, welcome. Hope you're all having a lovely day. But yeah, I think he's not far from done. Quite happy with that. Might practice some drawing after this. Maybe. I've got to just darken up just a little bit around the bottom part of his eye there. Because he does have a little bit of a darker spot there. Okay. I reckon he's done. If I keep fiddling, I'm going to wreck him. See, I was going to try and do a whole lot more detail, and now I'm like, no. I think that's enough. So I'm just going to sign him down here. I'm not going to do a background. I'm going to call that done. I've got to do the year 2026. There we go. Oakley doke. So now we might try and draw something else. So let's have a look. I could draw a bunny rabbit. Let's draw a bunny rabbit. I'll do a bunny because bunnies are fun. Where did I put my paper? Oh my goodness. I had it. Oh, I'm silly duff it. There it is. Got it. I might draw a bunny. We'll do a bunny. Okay. I love bunnies as well. We'll do cute animals today. We're having a cute animal day. Having a very definite cute animal day. And it just so happens that I have a bunny photo lined up. Oh, I creased my paper. Oh no. I have to go to the back of the book. That's the problem with watercolour paper, it creases. Okay. Okay, there we go. So I've got my watercolour paper. So you shouldn't sit anything on your watercolour paper. I'm just going to carefully peel off my sticky tape. Like that. And then we'll do a little bunny rabbit. The reference photo I got my references off Unsplash as well. And I usually mix it up and use 2 or 3 to make one picture. All right, that's my little fawn done. I'm going to grab my bit of tape again. Now this bunny's got browns and whites on him. So I'm going to have to do a background around him. So I'm going to sit this picture here for a second. Actually, I'll put that right out the way. Sit it over there. Grab my paper thingy. Oops. My painting paper there. And I'll sit that on the top. Excuse my focusy doodah, my zoomy thingy. And put that on there. So I dropped my eraser. I better go get that. Just bear with me for a second, peeps. I'm just going to go and grab my eraser. Oops. And then I will be drawing this little rabbit. Just going to grab my eraser. Hang on. Oops. Okay. So I will draw him first, and then I'll paint him. Oakley doke. So just got to quickly change my description on my video because I've put. How do I do that? Can I do that? I want to change my details. Stream manager. Edit stream info. So I've got to put oh dear and a bunny. Whoops. If I can spell bunny. Okay. And done. So hopefully that works. So now I'm gonna. Hello, Bacon. How are you, mate? So I'm going to start by drawing this little guy. Now, they've got very strange shaped little heads. He's quite round, very like the deer. Very like the deer that I just did. They're very round. So you almost draw a ball. And then you can just add the little nose extension. Like that. His little nose comes out the front. Like that. And then his head and his ear are the same length. So I'll put that ear here. So the length from the tip of his nose to the back of his head is the same length as his ear. So I come around. So I use exactly the same drawing technique on everything, on every single thing that I do. Every single animal. I measure everything against everything else. So I measure the ears against the face. I measure the body against the head. Okay, now I'll draw the other ear there, like that. It's got beautiful big eyes too, beautiful big eyes. So his eyes sort of towards the front, like that. He's got huge eyes like that. And then I draw where the highlight's going to be, because that's going to be the highlight on his eye, like that. His little nostril comes down on a different angle. He's got a much softer angle on him than there, like that. Now his head and his chest are the same length. So that's how I know where his chest goes to. His back is two and a little bit times his head. So 1, 2, and then his little butt comes down here. I don't think he's quite going to fit, but that doesn't matter. Draw his little leg down here. The bottom of his little leg will be chopped off, but that's fine. He's got his little bum fluff there, like that. And he's sort of sitting with his legs tucked up, but I'm going to draw his little leg. I'm going to change it for my own sake and draw his little leg coming down here, like that. And his little tummy's like that. His other front leg like that. He's got lots and lots of whiskers coming down everywhere. Now he's got lots of brown markings on him, so I'm going to mark in his browns, where his colour's going to be, like that. Come down and around his face, because he's sort of like a, I don't know what you call it. He's like a tabby rabbit. He's got all different colours. He's got white and brown all over him. He's just gorgeous little thing. And because he's actually got a lot of white on him as well, I'm going to do a background so that the contrast of the white stands out. And that comes all the way over to his leg, like that. And around here, like that. He has a little patch of brown on his leg. And then the rest of him is pretty much white. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to draw grass. He doesn't actually have grass in his reference, but I'm putting him on grass because why not? Because that's how I roll. You've got to be able to use your imagination a little bit, I suppose. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that, I think. So I'm going to start on the colour, grab my little bit of cloth, grab a clean piece of cloth would be a good idea. And I'm going to do exactly what I did before. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to do a background first. Famous last word. So I'm going to get a clean brush. I'm going to do the background's going to be blue. I'm just going to go in with pure ultramarine. And I'm going to cut around the whole rabbit. I'm just going to fill in all of the paper around him with ultramarine blue. Using my largest velvet brush. Got to be fast though, it's very hot here. So the watercolour is drying very, very fast. We actually had our hottest day in history for our part of the country the other day. We got to 49 degrees Celsius, which is about 120, I think. For this part of the country, that's very hot. But we've got another hot one today. Today's only, I don't know, about, it's only 30 today, but I don't know what that is. I think it's about 90. Okay, come around. And I've got to just quickly keep moving so I don't end up with any tide marks. I don't want any hard lines on the background. Got to keep moving. I made quite a puddle of watercolour, so I can keep dipping back into it and getting the same colour. Well, it's just blue. I haven't mixed it with anything. I can go over where the green's going to go because blue's a mixture of green and blue, a yellow and blue anyway. So continue on around him like that. And I'm actually going to go over a tiny little bit, just directly around him. Oops. To get just a bit darker directly around him. And I'll drag that out. I'll be a bit careful here. Whoops. Quickly touch that with my piece of cloth. Get that off there. Take that around. I want to darken up directly around him. It's going to be very fast. Very fast, otherwise I end up with a tide line. Keep moving it, keep moving it. Just move those edges. Like that. Okay, get a bit more, work around the rest of his little. It's going to do that. It's going to do that, take that a little bit darker. You can see how fast you've got to move when it's hot. When it's warm, I just want to get a little bit more contrast around him. Leave that a little bit jaggedy for fur lines. Come around this ear, like that. Just creates a little bit of interest in the background as well, rather than having just one flat colour. So I'm going to now get, you want your darkest darks against your lightest lights, and this part of his body has got a lot of light on it. So quickly soften all these edges. So I'm just running around with a cleaning my brush and just getting my damp brush and just taking it back around the edges. And that helps that not to dry into a hard line like that. Okay, so I'm going to leave that bit now and I'm going to let that dry a little bit, and I'm going to go onto his eye, and I'm going to use my blue grey. I don't even know what this colour is called. It's just a dark blue grey. And I'm going to pop that into his pupil. Love me some watercolours. Watercolours are fun. They are. They're very, very... People get scared of them, but you just got to go rogue and have lots of happy accidents. But yeah, watercolour's magic. It really is magic. Just going to pop this grey in. You just got to remember light to dark. Leave your white of your paper for the white of your picture if you can. Sometimes you just can't. Sometimes accidents happen and you get paint where you don't want it. But then you can just go over the top with acrylic. So, which is nice and easy. So, or a bit of white, they call it gouache. So now I'm going to make up the brownie grey. I'm going to get a slightly bigger brush. No, I'm not. I'm going to stick with the brush I got. And I'm going to wet where his brown fur is in here. Just going to carefully, be careful not to touch that other watercolour that I've just got there, because otherwise that'll blow out into it. Just going to add and not go near the blue. And I'm going to add a little bit of my yellow ochre into here and let it flow. Let it flow around. As it dries, I can add more detail over the top. The trick is to let watercolour what watercolour do, what watercolour does best. And that is to flow like water. Come around here. I've got to be careful because that's still damp up there. But I can work around the rest of his little body. So again, I'm going to wet my brush. I'm going to drag. Still got a little bit of brown. I've got to be careful there. Pick up that bead. I always have a bit of cloth in my hand in case of emergencies. And I'm just going to drop that brown in. Staying away from the blue just at the second because it's not quite dry. And then I'm going to drop yellow ochre in there. This is the base layer. Whoops, that's probably a bit too thick. You see how fast that paint's dried? Wow, the water's dried, I mean. That dried almost instantaneously. And because I'm using hot press paper, which is smooth paper, the water flows differently to what it does on the rough paper, which is cold press. So this is the very, very base layer of the colours that I'm going to put on him. There's a bit more moisture down there, ran a bit better there. Okay, so there we have the very beginnings. How's that? Well, that's quite dry up there. I can probably add a little bit of colour onto his ear now, because that blue up there is dry. Just got to be careful not to touch anywhere that's wet, because it will flow back out into it, which can be a bit sad when you're really happy with the piece and you touch something and the paint goes everywhere. It's like, no. So we won't do that. All right, having a quick look. Now I can actually go past there a bit now. So that's the very, very first layer. Now I'm going to go in with a little bit of a stronger brown. I'm going to go in with my transparent sienna, which is my absolute favourite colour of all time. Have it quite diluted. And I'm going to go back in where I put the yellow ochre and blob in. And the watercolour won't go anywhere that the colour isn't. Like, so if I've put water here and left dry paper here, the wet paint will not run onto the dry paper. The trick of watercolour is learning its intricacies like that. Like, it'll flow down the wet part, but it will not go where it's dry. It will only flow where there's other water to touch it. Okay, so come down the back of this ear. I'm going to start to build up the layers now, and then I'll add fur texture right at the very end. I'm going to add a bit of water to my brush and just drag this down a fraction, because I still don't want hard lines. So I'm literally just wetting. I've still just got water on the brush. There's no pigment, just water. And I'm going to build that darker brown around, which is my transparent sienna. He's quite dark. That's dry now on his back, so I can take that brown down his back like that and onto his little fluffy bum. Just working in little circle motions like that. Now I'm going to wet my brush just touch the edges and just bring this down, working the edges down into the rest of the fur so I don't have a hard line there, like that. There we go. Now I'm going to go a bit of burnt umber, which is an even darker brown. I'm going to add that in. So I'm pretty much using the same colours I used on the little deer. And I'm going to drop that in, and you can see that's still a little bit damp, so it flows around a bit. The ear's a little bit damp still, so it will move around anywhere that's wet. Come around the edge of this ear. And I'm trying to leave the white of the white paper. I'm building up the darker colours now, just to try and get a bit of three-dimensional effect. I'm going to go around the edge of his eye. I've got to be careful not to rest my hand on it. I keep wanting to rest my hand on it. Come around. I've got to darken up in his eye. I'll use a bit of indigo and a bit of burnt umber. But I do layers at a time, so I start with the light browns and then I work my way around. And he's quite mottled, so I'm not going to have one flat colour. It's going to have a few. Oh, Bacon, thank you for the sub, mate. Thank you. Thank you very much. Shout out to my mate Bacon. Shout out. Bacon. Oh, I've got to get me thingy to do the doodah. That one. There we go. Now it should work. Everything crossed. Ta-da! Much appreciated, mate. Thank you. So have you streamed today, or what have you been up to? I worked this morning, so I didn't get a chance to hang out with anyone, but hopefully this afternoon I will. So I'm just adding darker, working my way around. He's got grey shadow in his ear, so I'm not going to do that just yet. I'm just going to work. I've got to be patient, work my way around, not rush things. Is it wine o'clock there, doll? It's coming up to 1 o'clock here, almost. It's the afternoon here. Yep, just casual space adventures. Nice. Very nice indeed. Okay, coming down around his back. And I'm just going to start to build up now, fur texture. I'll keep this little one a bit simpler, a bit more simple. That was bad grammar. I'll keep this one a bit more simple than the deer. Because the white really has no detail. The white is really just the paper. So I can add a couple of little touches of blue for shadow. I'm just going to dampen my brush and just drag this brown around a little bit. Just need there to be a little bit more colour differences along here, like that. Don't want it to be one flat colour. How's your beast of a spaceship that you were building going? Because he's been building the most amazing ship on the game. Because I do try to hang out as often as I can. And it's got the cutest creatures. Oh my God. I've thought about getting it. I've thought about playing it. But best laid plans and all that. I always think about playing games and I never get to it. Okay, come around here, add a little bit of fur texture. Might take that down a fraction. Okay, now I'm having a quick look. I've got to add some pink into his ear because he's got a little bit of pink, and I'm just going to use a bit of red, but just dilute it right down. Might even add a little bit of yellow ochre to it, just to dull it off a little bit. Make it more of a skin tone. So a little bit of red, a little bit of yellow ochre makes an almost skin tone. And I'm just going to take that around, add a lot of water, and run that to the inside of the ear. Anywhere that's going to be that pinky tone. I add a little bit of red, a little bit stronger red, just around the outside. Just, oops, that's probably a little bit too much, but that's all right. I'll pick it up with the tip of my brush. Take the moisture out of my brush and just rub my brush over that. That will pick that up, or at least dilute it down. So it's not quite so stark and strong. And red pigment does take really fast onto the paper. And I'm going to add some grey, a little bit of blue. Actually, I'm not going to go grey, I'm going to go the blue, which will act as a grey shadow colour into the ear. Just take that in like that. Come around this top edge. And then around here. Like that. Done this, you're a little bit round, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. I'm going to add a little bit of this grey. It's a blue. I keep calling it grey, but it's blue. Around the edge. Because it's my dark. It'll be my dark. Add a little bit of fur texture. I can start to add the fur texture now. Just using the very tip of my brush over the top of all of this, just being very being very aware of the direction the fur goes. So you try and keep your brush marks go in the direction that the fur goes. So I'm adding a lot of pigment and very little water for now to get these fur lines. I might even, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do burnt umber. I'm going to make a burnt umber, cobalt blue, dark grey, almost black. And I'm going to do his pupil. Being careful to leave the white of the paper. Like that. Comes up and around there like that. And I can add this now, same grey, which is burnt umber cobalt blue. So it's a very dark browny blue. Take that up and around his little eye. And you can see the white of the paper does its work. Thanks, anonymous benefactor. Awesome. Come down and around. Bottom of the ear. And he's very dark. Coming around this front of this ear. And there's a shadow in there. Okay, having a quick look. Take this fur down onto his cheek here. Add a few little flecks around. Like that. I've got to be a bit braver with my darks. Like that. Come down onto his back. There's a little bit of grey onto there. And for the rest of his fur, I'm going to use I'm looking at it thinking I'm just going to use pale blues, I think. Just very pale blues into his shadowy bits. And again, always remembering, just follow the direction of the fur. Trying to get my strokes going the right way. And I'm leaving the lighter colour still visible underneath, so you can still see snippets of the light under there. Go onto his little fuzzy butt, under his little tussock, little powder puff. We've got so many rabbits on the farm at the moment, my goodness. We've got thousands of them. It's ridiculous. There's so many of them. They're so cute. Okay, coming down and around. His little butt. Like that. Okay, so clean my brush. And I'm going to go into, actually I'm going to use my pale blue grey, very diluted, incredibly diluted, like almost tinted water. And I'm going to come down and around the shadow areas. Anywhere I can see that he's got shadowy bits on his white, I'm going to come around with this very pale, very watered down blue-grey, and that will dry a tiny little bit lighter. So it's almost just tinted water. It's very incredibly watery. Come down the inside of this front leg, leaving texture for the fur like that. And again, down his chest, following the direction of the fur, all the way down the front. Texture down there. Okay, he's got shadow down there. Like that. And he's got a little bit of shadow coming up under his little leg there, where his leg turns. What I need to do, I actually have just realised, I've got to do, got to add a little bit of texture. I'm just going to wet my brush again and just soften this little bit here. Soften that a fraction. Get rid of that little bit hard line. And you just rub the tip of your brush onto that. And I'll dab that off. Just want to make that a little bit more pale. Okay, having a look. I've got to get a bit more contrast under here, but I'm going to do grass, so that's okay. So I'll just go into my green. And I'm going to, the blue's dry now. So I'm going to add some grass. Coming up and around. I might even add that into his little legs, like that. Coming around the back, like that. I'm going to put the grass coming up under his legs as well, because there's grass under there. It'll be coming through his little legs and everywhere. And then, so that's watered down, and I'm just adding less water. So it's exactly the same green, just less water, more pigment. Just don't water it down as much. Oops, need a bit more pigment. A bit more. Like that. There we go. So it looks like he's sitting on grass. I might even add some darker green. Have I got a darker green? I do have a darker green. I can just add a bit of blue to it. That'll darken it up anyway. Just around the very bottom. Because that would be where it's in shadow most. Like that. I don't want it everywhere. I just want it in the shadowy bits. That. And might add a little bit of orange, just Looks like there's little flowery petals around. I've got to draw his little whiskers, but I haven't got I haven't really got a white. I could use one of my acrylics. I might just chop a teeny tiny little. I need just to add his whiskers. See, this is what I mean. If you forget and you don't have, if you've forgotten to leave a highlight, just you can use a bit of acrylic paint or a bit of gouache, which is like an opaque watercolor. I just realised I've got to do his whiskers in. That brush is too little. I need a stronger brush than that. There we go. Use the very tip. Oh, no, that's too thick. Gee whiz. Got that out a little bit. Whoops. Whoopsie whoops. I need to go back to my fine brush. I'm going to go to my super fine brushes over here. Add my whiskers in with that. You can see that's a much finer brush. Like that, and I can use my acrylic paint just to regain those highlights that I've lost. Like that. I might even add just a tiny touch. Oops, around the ear. Like that. Little highlight back there. I think that's pretty much it. I've managed to leave most of the whites where I want them. And I've just got to add a tiny little bit back in here. Just there, because I lost that little bit. So that's what you can do when you're using your watercolours. If you miss anything or you mess anything up, you can just add a little tiny bit of acrylic or gouache to replace it. I've just realised I've got to add some little whiskery dots on his nose on this side. So I'm going to clean my acrylic brush, go back into my paint that I've got on my palette and just add his little whisker dots. He's got all little whisker dots everywhere around there. And he's also got little dots, fur dots in his ear. So I'll add that with my fine brush like that. Keeps that nice and interesting. Add a few more in the grab the diluted paint. Just add a few little textury furry bits. And we're going to call that done, peeps. We're going to call that done. That's 2 pictures for the day. So I'll sign him down the bottom. And call it, what day is it? It's 2026. Like, what year is it? I was nearly going to write 2006. That's a moment. Okay, so now I'm going to carefully peel off my thingy, my tape, very carefully. Peel off my tape, because I do have a habit of tearing my paintings. There we go, which can be sad sometimes. Now, just pull it. You got to pull away from the painting. So hold my board down, pull down, pull up, or away from the direction of the painting. Okay, there we go. Now pull that away. I'll leave the bottom one on for now, just so you can still see the painting. And I'll show you the second one, the other one we did before, the little deer. So there's the little deer that we did first, and a little bunny rabbit. So that was lots of fun. Thank you so much for hanging out, everyone. It has been awesome. I'm not going to raid and run. I'm going to see who's on. Where are we? Who's on? So I go to the home. I've just got to bear with me a second, peeps. I'm just trying to see who's on. Oh, hang on. Just pulling up my other screen. So for my friends on YouTube, on Twitch, you can take the people that are on. Oh, there's no one on. None of my friends are on. Oh. You know what? We are going to head out. We're just going to head out. So thank you so much for hanging out and watching, everyone. It has been awesome. And I will see you all for the next video. Have a great day, night, whatever it is, wherever.